What's up, YouTube? Alright, today I'm going to go over a video that I've seen some people go over. Haven't seen a lot of it on YouTube, so I figured I'd go over it. I want to talk about the difference in circular force versus linear force. Obviously in Wing Chun, we are punching linearly off the center line, and when our full cycle techniques are coming through, they're coming off the center line. And so that linear force, that force projection is what we're looking for. But the counter to that, I say counter, more opposite of that is the circular force. When you're thinking about circular force, you can think about Chi Sao, Pun Sao, how your hands are moving in a circle. You can think about a lot of different aspects of martial arts. Tai Chi push hands, for example, how that's a horizontal circle. But what I want to go over is something specific. How we are defending ourselves against linear force. So if you watched my first video about the basic drills, it was the full cycle Pak Sao drill. In that video I talk about how the Pak Sao comes off the center line, but it's angled to a 45. So we call it a forward 45 angle. So as you're pushing this off the 45, off the center line, what I didn't talk about was the second half, okay? So the way we like to do this is the Pak Sao, the pushing hand, comes off the center line on a 45-degree angle. Once you make contact with the opponent's arm, you grip and you roll. Okay? The first half is a Pak, the second half is more of a Lop. So you've got these brother-sister techniques, Pak Sao, Lop Sao, that are working in conjunction with this Pak. The retraction of my hand, as many of you know that you Wing Chun practitioners, when you do chain punching, the retraction of your forward hand is what really leads in to your rear hand coming in hard and fast. So what I want to do is I want to show you a little bit of the contrast between the linear and the circular. So I'm going to bring my assistant Eric back in here and let me go over this a little bit. I'm not sure how long this video might be. I think it might be kind of short, so bear with me. Alright, how you doing? Alright, so natural stance, guard out. So, I think you can see us both. Alright. So, when we punch here, single hand trap for example, I'm punching straight off the center line. You see how he pops off the center line. He's pointing to my left shoulder, and he's on a forward 45-degree angle. But if all he does is push, when he recycles this rear hand to come up, he's in his own way, right? So he's got to pull this hand out of the center, or out of the top line, out of the high line. So he pulls this down. Now he's got a clear path to the high line. So when we do this drill, he's pushing it out of the way, and I'm pushing it out of the way. What I want you to see is this. I'm pushing his hand off the center line to get him off line. Watch his head. His head comes forward a little bit. I want to pull just a little bit. And you'll also notice how I'm gripping. When I grip, I don't do a full grab with my thumb opposite my fingers. I want to do a grip kind of like an octopus tentacle. With my thumb on the same side of my fingers, I want to concave my hand. I want to stick. So this pull can happen naturally. I can also transition into Kumna from here with a move of the thumb, okay, if I want to do that. But that's for a later video. So, he back up a little bit. So he punches at me, push, hold. Now, the concept that I want to talk about, again, circular versus linear, he holds his arm straight out. I'm going to try to push his arm in 4 different linear directions, and he's going to resist me, okay? So I'm going to start by pushing him towards the center line. He resists. You see my body turning, his arm's not moving a whole lot. Then I go inside, I go away from the center line. I use my body, and he tenses up his chest muscles and he's stopping. Now I go on a downward angle, Gum Sao. It's a little harder for him because of the shoulder, that's a weird angle, but he can resist that. And then the last one I go up, and he pulls down and he can resist. Fairly easy to resist all 4 of those angles. Also diagonal, if I go up and away, or down and in. He can resist those. A little more difficult, but it's still linear. So you have a linear force coming in and a linear force counteracting. So what I want to do is, I want to take this hand and make him completely unable to keep it where he wants it. So with 2 fingers, what I want to do is I'm going to tell him to resist. So resist again, all right? So it's hard for me to get that up. So he's got a good resistance going. So I'm going to take 2 fingers, resist. Okay, you see his whole body's shivering, right? Okay, he can't do anything. The reason is because your brain doesn't recognize circular energy, circular force. It recognizes linear force, which is why if you have a linear force coming in, let's say I'm pushing him, he can lean into me and we can have 2 opposing forces at the same point. Or pulling. He can pull me and I pull away from him. We have 2 similar forces opposing one another. But that's not Wing Chun principle. So if you've been studying Wing Chun, you know that if he gives me lop style, I'm not going to pull away from him. I'm going to step in. And the way we look at it is, well, you asked for it, so be careful what you wish for, okay? So, but again, we'll go into more of that in another video. I'm rambling, sorry. So, with the circular movement, his brain doesn't recognize circular technique. So, it's very easy for him to recognize linear force and resist against the linear force. But when I give him circular force, his brain is breaking it down, and the way I like to look at it is kind of an octagon. His brain's not thinking full circle, it's thinking angles. So every time I move, his brain is thinking, okay, down and away, straight away, up and away, up and in, down and in. And he's thinking angles. So he's trying to resist the angle that he feels, which say is in. But when you resist that, the angle changes. When you resist that, the angle changes. The angle continues to change. Why? Because it's a circle. There are no angles in circles. So circles are a fluid, constant motion. That's why circular energy is so effective against the linear force. He punches forward, circle. He has a forward energy that he can easily resist. We've already talked about how linear versus linear. But let's just say he tries to resist this. He pushes against me. Well, what's my next move? Lock, right? Okay, so he's pushing into something to try not to get trapped. And then the force changes and he's offline, he's uprooted, he's bent at the waist, and he's pretty much meat at that point. So he punches in, he tries to resist. Now, I try to pull, he pulls. So if he pulls, what's going to happen? He pulls my hand right into it, okay? If he's up here, for example, let's say I lock, and he pulls against me. It's coming right down Main Street, all right? Or the elbow's coming. So if he feels that linear force and he forces against it, follow him in. My teacher's teacher had a saying. He said, once you get your foot in the door, stay there, okay? There's no reason to get in, get a couple of strikes, step out, let him gain his cognizance back, and then go back in for something. So he gives me single hand trap, and I stick him with full cycle boxile, circular motion, linear force combined. Linear, there's circular, there's the linear. Okay, so that drill that you saw in that first basic drills video, that's what we're actually doing. Circular and linear forces combined. Excuse me, getting over a cold. But anyway, so what I want to do is I want to focus on this circular energy and get this moving. But notice I'm always on a 45. I'm never going side to side or straight up and down. 45 in, 45 out. Okay, my elbow is always in the movable elbow position, so I'm not pulling my elbow back here. I don't want to make my arm work like a piston. So, not this. Okay? I want to keep it here. And notice my waist is moving. It's not just my arm. Alright? So when you're working that circular force versus linear force, that comes in really handy. For another example, double gong saos or quan sao. So if he comes to push, he has a double-handed push, linear force. My double, just like in the dummy set, when I'm snaking, I'm going around the hands. This is circular force. Okay? Circular energy against linear. Let's say it's single hand. He punches, high Gonçal, low Gonçal. Create a half circle. The linear force gets taken offline very quickly. 1, 2. And obviously there's your counterattack. So if you're doing this quickly, here, he punches with the other hand. Okay? So I can create this circular energy based on his linear energy. Now, what if you're the one throwing linear energy and he gives you circular force back? So I punch, linear. He gives me, we'll start with the Pak first. He gives me Pak style, that obviously the second half is lopsided like we talked about a minute ago. Alright, I know he's pulling me into this. So the best thing I can do first is to get a good root, make sure my root is good, but I can switch here as he's pulling down, scrape him off, go in, or I can step in and roll over him before he has a chance to finish that circular motion with a pressing elbow. So I punch here, he pushes, right there, there's a pressing elbow, and finish him off. Okay? So a lot of ways you can incorporate this. If we do it in Shisao, for example, this is all circle, right? So we're feeling this circle. Well, shots like this come out of nowhere because they're linear. If he gives me single hand jump dot here, that's linear, okay? So circular motion with linear force, okay? So I hope this video helps, all right? Have a good night. Thank you. I hope this video helped you understand a little bit about circular versus linear. Like I said, I haven't seen many people do videos like this, so I wanted to go over that just in case any of you might have had questions about that kind of thing. So leave a comment in the comments box or a question. If you have a question, I'll try to answer it as best I can. We'd love for you to like and subscribe. Check us out on Facebook, facebook.com/Shaolining Wing Chun Academy. We also have a new website up. It is ShaoliningWingChun.com. It is still under a lot of construction, so we're working on it. Hopefully we'll get the amendments made to it fairly soon. Thanks again for watching. Hope you all have a great day. See you next time.